You're listening to the Touch 'Em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we're going to be breaking down UFC 253 with the UFC's return to Fight Island, and what a fight to bring to Fight Island's return in the main event of the evening for the reigning, defending middleweight championship of the world. You have the reigning, defending, undefeated middleweight champion, the last Stylebender, Israel Adesanya, going in to Fight Island to defend his title against another undefeated top-ranked contender in that division, the Powerhouse and the Crusher, the Blachowicz of the middleweight division. That is Paulo, the Eraser Costa, holding a record of 13 wins and no losses. Adesanya holds a record of 19 wins and no losses, 32-0, undefeated in the middleweight title fight main event. Somebody's O has got to go. And then in the co-main event of the evening for the vacant light heavyweight championship of the world, you have the man who believes he beat John Jones in his last fight. That is Dominick, the Devastator Reyes, who holds a record of 12 wins and 1 defeat, going up against another top-ranked contender who is a dark horse in this fight with not a lot of people giving him a lot of credit, and that is Jan Blachowicz. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right, guys, I'm fired up for this card, man. We have so much to discuss. We could talk about the fights from this past Saturday as well, because it's kind of important. We can't skip over a card. So, we could talk about Covington versus Woodley. The fight went pretty much exactly how I think a lot of people expected it to go. Woodley did have some good moments. There was a moment where Covington tried to shoot a takedown up against the fence. Woodley stuffed the takedown, shot his takedown off the failed takedown of Covington and got him down and got top position for a second. But then Covington just got back up and went back right on the pace and on the pressure. And exactly what we said before in the breakdown is kind of what happened. Woodley might have looked decent in the first couple rounds, but the longer the fight went, Colby's pressure, his pace, his long combinations, and his pushing Woodley up against the fence was going to be the key. Because Woodley, once he gets pushed up against the fence, that's where he takes his breaths. That's where he takes his moments to get his breath back, and he doesn't really fight to get off the cage. Now, he did early on in the fight. He tried to get the underhooks, pummel in, and move his hips off the fence and get back to the center. But a lot of the times, even when he did that, Colby would just be right back on the pressure with the 1-2s, 1-2-3, uppercut, 1, uppercut, hook, cross, 1-1-2, and just push him back on the cage. Takedowns after takedown after takedown. In the first round, he shot in, boom, off a takedown, picked him up, slammed him, got some good ground and pound off. It was a lot of Woodley had some good kicks, and he tried to land like that right hand to the body. There was a point where he did like a fake right hand, a double jab, a fake right, a left hook, and a right hand. He faked the shots to kind of get the opening to land the right hand. And I believe it landed, and that's what I said he needed to do. Get back on the fakes and feints, fake and feint with the pressure, bop, 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 boom, and then throw the power. So bop, 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 throw the power. And he did it a couple times. Good kicks to the body from Woodley. That was another thing he did halfway decent. I don't think he looked as bad in this fight as he did in his last two before this against Usman and Burns. He still lost and he got finished. He didn't get finished against Usman or Burns, but he got finished against Colby. Colby shot in, got a takedown. They were in a half guard position, and Colby had like the seatbelt where the one arm's over the side of the neck. The one arm has an underhook on the other side, and you're holding it down, trying to pressure your shoulder into the opponent and then kick your free leg off the knee of the opponent to get your leg that's trapped out and then get the side control. And when he did that, Woodley screamed, fuck, my rib, and broke his rib. So Woodley had a broken rib. You could see it on the X-ray that he posted. Colby was landing vicious ground and pound, landed a good elbow. One thing I liked from Colby in this fight was he was striking or landing strikes off the break in the clinch. And one guy who's very good at that in that welterweight division is Leon Edwards. Edwards loves to land elbows off the break in the clinch, and Colby landed some good elbows off the break against Woodley. And that was something I really, really liked to see from Colby. It looked like he had more power in his shots. His strikes looked a little bit cleaner. Some good front kicks. Woodley tried to land a couple of front kicks up the middle and land shots to the body against Colby, because against Usman, the body work is what led to the shots landing up top. So he had the right idea. He just wasn't active enough. And when he gets pushed up against the fence, he sits there too much and takes time to catch his breath. Or like I said, early on in the first two rounds, round and a half, he looked like he was trying to get off the fence a lot more. But, it is what it is. And Colby Covington gets the win via 5th round TKO. Who's next for Colby? He called out Masvidal. He called out Usman. I mean, Usman's got Gilbert Burns next, so we know that's going to happen. There should be Masvidal versus Diaz, but if I was the UFC, I would do Colby versus Masvidal. I think you scrap the Diaz fight. I know it's going to make the UFC a lot of money, but there's no reason for us to watch that fight again. There's absolutely no reason for us to believe that the fight would play out any different and that Masvidal would have any more trouble than with Diaz than he did in the first matchup. If anything, I think it would be an easier fight for Masvidal. I think he finishes him earlier. Diaz just never comes into a fight looking that much different. He did against Pettis, which is, I think, what helped in the buildup, to the fight with Masvidal at 244, but he did look different and looked like he had better control in the clinch and better strikes in the clinch against Pettis. But, he never really checks leg kicks. He did against Pettis too, which is why I think a lot of people were more hyped up for the fight against Masvidal when it went down. But if it's going to happen again, it's going to pretty much be the same fight. I don't see it going any differently. I don't see Diaz having any avenue to victory, submission, or on the ground or on the feet. But, it would make the UFC money, so I could see why they would want to do it. You could market it as a rematch for the BMF title since the first fight was a doctor stoppage, and Masvidal said he would run it back, so you can market it that way. But I think Colby versus Masvidal is the fight to go. They're former teammates, former roommates, a lot of bad blood. Colby was coming off a loss to Usman. Now he beats Woodley. Masvidal's coming off a loss to Usman. This would be his fight back. So Colby versus Jorge Masvidal is the fight to make. Who I think would win that fight, I'm not sure. I would probably have to lean towards Colby because I just think the wrestling and the pace and pressure would be too much for Masvidal. On the feet, I think Masvidal pieces him up, but I also think that the pace and pressure and the smooth transitions from the striking to the grappling, back to striking, back to grappling that we see from Colby Covington and his control up against the cage, that was the area where Masvidal had the most trouble with Usman, was getting controlled up against the fence with foot stomps and just getting held up against the fence. And I think Colby would just pop, 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 shoot, pop, 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 shoot, single, transition to a double, get the body lock, suplex, take the back, land the ground and pound. He gets up, he switches to the double, switches to the single leg, head on the inside, turns the corner, goes double, and just switches back and forth. Whenever Usman or Masvidal gets up, he's just back on the pressure with the pop, 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 kick, pop, 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 high kick, 1-1-2, lead high kick, cross, hook, low kick, jab, cross, right high kick, pop, 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 takedown, pop, 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 takedown, break, upper, hook, cross, takedown, uppercut, hook, double jab, right hand, takedown, fake the takedown, uppercut. I mean, it would just be a lot of that stuff. And I don't really see an avenue for Masvidal to win. I think Masvidal could catch him and knock him out, but I still would favor Colby Covington. But Covington versus Usman is the fight to make. And then you're going to ask me, well, what do you do with Leon Edwards? Edwards deserves a fight. I like Colby Covington versus Edwards. Versus Leon Rocky Edwards, because I think Edwards is probably one of the most dangerous guys in that 170-pound division, and I think he deserves the credit that, he deserves to get the credit that he's earned, And I know on Twitter this morning that Stephen Thompson actually called him out. He called him out on Twitter about a fight and asked Leon Edwards to fight. And that's, that's a good thing because I think that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Leon Rocky Edwards in a 5-round main event or a co-main event of a pay-per-view is phenomenal. But I think fight night main event, Leon Rocky Edwards versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the striking in that fight, those are the two best strikers in that 170-pound division, and I would love to see that fight. So I'm hoping that Edwards takes that fight. I know he said that, or he posted liked a tweet that said, it doesn't really do much for Leon, but it does a lot for Stephen Thompson. At this point, I think Edwards just needs to take a fight, and you're not going to get Colby. Maybe you could possibly get Colby or Masvidal, but if Colby and Masvidal are available to be booked, they're going to book that fight regardless. And then who are you going to fight? You're going to fight Nate Diaz? No. You're going to fight Nick Diaz? No. Why would you do that? You're not going to fight Woodley. Woodley's coming off losses. Usman and Burns are already booked up. So do Leon Rocky Edwards versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. In the co-main event, Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Nico Price fought to a draw. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to watch this fight. I didn't see much of it. I know a lot of people said that they believe Donald Cerrone won that fight. Maybe he did. I watched it, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. But it went to a draw. Cowboy said it was like the worst performance he's had, and that's 5 losses to him in a row. Nico Price said he wanted to run it back. So I could see them running the fight back in a main event, but who knows what's going to happen? We really don't know. So I think maybe the best option is to run it back. And if not, then I don't know what you do with Cowboy, and I don't know what you do with Nico Price. Maybe you go Nico Price versus Mike Perry. I mean, there's a couple options you could do for that fight, but I'm not 100% sure where either of these guys go. Run it back maybe in a 5-round main event, or run it back on a fight night and see what happens. But, it is what it is. Again, then one of the biggest fights on the card, or the one people were looking forward to the most in the middleweight division, Khamzat Chimaev living up to the hype with a 17-second knockout over Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. And a lot of people thought Meerschaert was going to give him a lot of trouble and was going to, prove that he wasn't as big of a hype train as he was. And he didn't even have to grapple. He stood on the feet and he knocked him out. Everybody was worried about the grappling. And Khamzat said, like, hey, you need to worry about my hands and my striking. If you think I'm only a grappler, I'm going to show you. And he did that. Meerschaert was circling and backed his way up to the fence. Khamzat Chimaev threw a right, it was a hybrid between a side kick and a front kick to the body. So he threw it and he stabbed it right into the body of Meerschaert. I believe it was right on the right side of his body, probably hit him in the liver. And you could see his arms kind of go down like he did, because it took the wind out of him. Just that stabbing motion to the body. When you kick somebody to the body and you drive through it, it can take the air out of you. But when you stab a front kick or a side kick into the body, it just adds a little bit more and takes the air out of you a lot quicker. So he landed that side kick. Meerschaert was circling up towards the fence, and Khamzat was pushing forward. Khamzat faked, it looked like it was going to be a hook, and then he straightened out the hook and made it just go straight down the middle. I believe it was actually a hook. It was like a mixture between a straight and a hook. I'll actually watch the fight right now because I can actually check it out. Let's see. So Khamzat Chimaev knockout. It should be. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. We're going to watch the whole fight again as we're discussing it. So the fight starts. Let's go. The fight starts. Khamzat's pushing forward. Meerschaert circling towards his left. Khamzat's trying to get that outside foot like you do against the guy in the opposite stance. Khamzat throws that body kick and it stabs Meerschaert in the left side of the body. And you could see when that front side kick hybrid landed and stabbed into the body, you could see Meerschaert drop that left elbow towards his body, and he backed up. And he went right back to the fence. Khamzat's pushing forward, and he here it is. So he pushes forward, and just lands a right hook. It looks like a straight at first because it looks like he's going to go straight down the middle, but he hooks it right at the end, comes around the guard, and boom, catches him. I'm pretty sure if I can get a slow-mo replay, I can here. I want a slow-mo. Here, can I slow it down on here? Playback speed. Here, let's go 0.5. Here we go. So he's circling towards that right hand. He's circling right into the power of Khamzat. Khamzat fakes, or Khamzat looks like it's going to be a hook here because I can see it now. It was so quick when it happened. It just was like a gunshot. So he touches the lead hand, fakes like it's going to be a hook, but it's kind of straightened out and comes straight down the center. And he drops him, and that's it. Folds him like an accordion. Let's see. I can slow it down a little bit more. 0.25 here. He's moving forward. Lands that body kick. Here it goes. Boom. So it looks like it's going to be a hook. So here we go, because I got it to slow down. It looks like it's going to be a hook around the side. But just as it looks like it's going to be a hook, he straightens it out right at the end. So Meerschaert goes to high guard and block on the side because he thinks it's a hook, so it's going to hit the arm. But instead, he blocks on the side. The middle and straight down the center is opened up. So he fakes like it's going to come around the side, gets Meerschaert to guard up on the side, and straight down the middle's open. So fake and then change the trajectory of the punch, go straight down the pipe, drop him, and that's it. One shot, 17 seconds. He gets Demian Maia on, I believe, September or October 19th or somewhere around there. That's his next fight. Is that still going to be the fight to make? I mean, they already said that that's the fight they're going to do. I don't think Demian Maia wants anything to do with Khamzat Chimaev right now. I don't see him out grappling him at all. And I see Khamzat just knocking him out in the first round. I know I don't want to be quick to jump on the hype train because I've done it before with a lot of guys and a lot of girls and a lot of people in the MMA and in the UFC, but this Khamzat kid is for real. I mean, he's only 9-0, and he knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, who has over 40-something fights in 17 seconds with one punch. So, and everybody before that was always a grappler because he out-grappled and just ground and pounded everybody. But now you look at it and you see how good the guy really is. And yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. The other fights pretty much went exactly how I thought they were going to go. You know, what are we going to... Johnny Walker gets the knockout over Ryan Spann. I said I wasn't too confident in the pick. I think I said like a second-round knockout, but he ended up getting the win via first-round KO. A lot of people said they were a hammer fist to the back of the head, but he had gotten stunned and hurt by Ryan Spann multiple times. Spann went for takedowns. He landed some vicious elbows and then hammer fists on the ground and knocked him out. So Johnny Walker's back. He's training at SBG now in Ireland, I believe, with John Kavanagh. Or I think it's in SBG. I think it's the one with John Kavanagh. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I know he's training at SBG, though. So first round KO for Johnny Walker. He's back on the winning track, and we'll see what's next for him. That's a big win over Ryan Spann, who I believe is undefeated in the UFC. So that's a big win for him to come back after his losses to Corey Anderson and Nikita Krylov. And who's next? What else do we got? So Mackenzie Dern and Randa Marcos basically went exactly how I said. On the feet, I thought Randa Marcos had a better striking game and was going to be able to piece her up a little bit. But then I said, if you knock Mackenzie Dern off balance or get her on the ground, don't jump into the guard. She jumped into the guard, got tied up in like a high guard, where Mackenzie Dern had the full guard locked, but it was a high guard, like up around the shoulders and the neck. And then eventually found her way to work into an armbar, got the submission, and got the tap. So big win for Mackenzie Dern. And yeah, pretty much exactly how I expected that one to go. We'll see what's next for each of those girls. And then middleweight, Kevin Holland and Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart took over in the third round with his wrestling and his grappling, which was kind of a surprise. I knew that the jiu-jitsu of Kevin Holland was probably better than Darren Stewart, but the wrestling and just how big and strong Darren Stewart is for 185, I thought he would be able to control him on the ground, and he resorted to that in the third round. But the first two rounds, it was just Kevin Holland's kicking game. His side kicks, his front kicks, his body kicks, front kicks to the knee, to the leg. And I said Darren Stewart wasn't much of a kicker, but he did try to kick in this fight a little bit more than previous fights, tried to land that front kick to the leg of Kevin Holland to keep Kevin Holland away from him. And but Kevin Holland's kicking range, he was able to just keep him at range and piece him up for those first two rounds and get the decision. So another big win for Kevin Holland. I believe that's 3 wins in 2020 for him now. So yeah, big win for him. And then now we got to move to UFC 253. I'm so excited to talk about this card, and it's going to be a long episode because there's so many fights to break down. There's so many intangibles to go over and so many small details in every one of these fights to break down. So let's start it out with the first fight the last fight on the prelims in the lightweight division between a City Kickboxing striking coach and standout in the UFC for New Zealand, and that is Brad Quake Riddell, who holds a record of 8 wins and 1 defeat, going up against Alex da Silva Coelho, who holds a record of 21 wins and 2 losses overall in his mixed martial arts career. I believe he's 1-1 in the UFC. He suffered a loss to, let me see, I could probably look it up. Here, let's go Google. Last fight. Here. So Alex da Silva Coelho. I could pull it up. Yeah, here we go. 21 wins and 2 losses overall. He's got a win over Rodrigo Vargas by decision. He just out-grappled him, out-wrestled him, had better top control, better control from the back with the body lock or the body triangle. He's very good when he takes your back at controlling you and getting the body triangle and just trying to land ground and pound and look for submissions. And before that, he lost to Alexander Yakovlev via a guillotine choke in the second round, which is pretty surprising because of how good this guy's jiu-jitsu is. But he got caught and got submitted. But yeah, the only advantage, okay, so he's decent on the feet. He's got decent striking, pretty rudimentary striking. It's nothing too crazy. But, you know, he is good on the feet. But Brad Riddell is just levels above him, to be honest. Levels above him and just better all the way around. I mean, you look at the guys from City Kickboxing and their management of range, their distance management, their takedown defense, their ability to scramble out of a lot of positions on the ground is what makes them so good. And, you know, Brad Riddell, I believe, is a striking coach for City Kickboxing. He's had multiple Muay Thai kickboxing fights, other MMA fights before he got into the UFC. He's coming off a big win over Magomed Mustafayev at the UFC Fight Night Felder versus Hooker. He won that fight, dropped him in the first round with the right hand. He was able to circle, bop, and then catch him down the middle and drop him. Magomed Mustafayev was getting takedowns, but even when he got Brad Riddell down to the ground, he was able to shrimp his hips out, get back up to the feet, work his way up against the cage, control with the underhooks and the overhooks, get the wrist control, and get his back off the fence. Constantly, you know, trying to sprawl and use the frames and use the cross face against the face to get his hips out and push Magomed Mustafayev off of him. He never settles in positions on the ground, even if you do take him down. So when you look at how Alex da Silva Coelho has to win this fight, you know, he's going to have to get him on the ground and control him on the ground. If it stays on the feet, it's Brad Riddell's fight to win all day. He's got very good distance management. He's got very good low kicks. He throws a calf kick. You know, a lot of people are starting to see the benefits of throwing a calf kick aside from throwing a traditional roundhouse Thai style low kick, because when you throw a Thai style low kick, it takes more time to get to the target and you have to turn your hip over and drive down into the target. You turn the lead foot, turn the hip over and drive it into the target. With a calf kick, there's no wind up because you're kicking up. You're kicking up under the calf. And if you kick under the calf, it's going to deaden the peroneal nerve, I believe it's called. It's going to deaden that nerve and it can make your foot fall asleep. It can make it hard for you to balance, and it can make it harder for the opponent to move, because it only takes a few calf kicks to really deaden that lead leg. If you deaden their leg and deaden their movement, it's going to be harder for them to move laterally, move backwards, move in and out. And if you hit a target that has to stay stationary, then, you know, it's ripe for the picking. And Brad Riddell loves to set up that calf kick. You know, it's just jab, calf kick, 1-2, hook, calf kick. He's very good with same side combinations as well. He'll go jab, cross, lead hook, hook to the body, lead hook up top. He'll go jab, hook to the body, hook up top. So jab, liver, hook to the top. 1-1-2, a good 1-2 down the center that he dropped Magomed Mustafayev with. Really good fakes and feints to try to gauge the distance and gauge the reactions of the opponent. And I just think this is what's going to be the difference against Alex da Silva Coelho. Yes, Coelho has a better record, 21-2. You know, he's no joke. He does have decent striking, but I don't think it's anywhere near the level of Brad Quake Riddell. And the grappling, yes, if he's able to get Brad Riddell on the ground and get him to settle in a position and out-scramble him, then yes, he can definitely control him on the ground. It's not like Brad Riddell can't get taken down. He doesn't have very good takedown defense. He will get taken down, but his ability to scramble and not settle in a position it's what's going to make it harder for Alex da Silva Coelho to find openings to lock up submissions. If he's able to control him on the ground and settle in a position and work from there with ground and pound and looking to set up rear naked chokes, looking to set up arm bars, looking to set up leg locks, then he can get the win. But I don't think it's going to be easy for to get Brad Riddell to settle. He never really settles in positions, and he didn't against Magomed Mustafayev. I just think Brad Riddell gets the job done here. I think he gets the job done via a second round TKO. I think his striking is too crisp and too clean. I mean, the way he throws out his combinations and mixes it up between high and low, kicks to punches, punches to kicks, knees, elbows, he mixes it up so well. So he can get drawn into a brawl, but against Alex Da Silva, I don't think he's going to want to brawl with him. Like, I don't think Silva's going to want to brawl with Brad Riddell at all. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Brad Quake Riddell to get the win here via a second round TKO. I just think his striking's too clean. His takedown defense and his ability to scramble and stay patient during scrambles on the ground is going to be able to avoid a lot of the grappling transitions and attempts from Alex Da Silva, and I think he just wins the fight by being the cleaner, slicker fighter. So yeah, Brad Quake Riddell to defeat Alex Da Silva Coelho via a second round TKO. First win on the board for City Kickboxing. All right, now we move to the main card. Up first in the featherweight division, you have Min Hakeem Dawodu coming into this fight with a record of 11 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, going up against Zubaira the Warrior Tukhugov, who holds a record of 19 wins, 4 losses, and 1 defeat. This is a great fight. What a great fight to open up the main card. Honestly and truly, this fight's phenomenal. I've talked about Min Hakeem Dawodu on this podcast before. I've talked about him multiple times. I've actually tried to get him on for an interview. Hopefully soon we can get him on. I've been contacting him through Instagram. But, I don't know what's going to happen. It might happen, it might not. But he's going up against Zubaira Tukhugov. And the main factor, when you look at a guy like Hakeem Dawodu, he has very, very good takedown defense. He has good ability to manage range and control the distance. This guy is a phenomenal kickboxer. Keeps you at range, flicks out that jab, throw the low kick, chop the low kick, chop the body kick. There's a reason his nickname is Min Hakeem Dawodu. If you look at his fight against Yoshinori Horie, which I believe was at UFC 240, he was losing the fight in the beginning of he was losing the fight in the first round because Yoshinori Horie was constantly faking and feigning, moving laterally. He would pop 1, 2, 3, move, pop 1, 2, 3, circle, pop, cut the angle, in and out, circle, and it was making it hard for Hakeem to track his movement because Hakeem will move laterally, but he mainly has a forward style of pressure fighting and technical striking. He doesn't push forward like get in your face like a Paulo Costa, but he doesn't necessarily cut a lot of angles. He's kind of a pop, 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 low kick, pop, 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 kick, pop, 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 kick. He ends almost every single combination with a kick, and if he doesn't, he'll go kicks to punches and punches to kicks. He'll switch up the patterns, and he's very good in the clinch. He's good at getting control in the tie plum and landing knees to the body, knees up top to the head, good elbows, good control in the clinch. He's very, very good at Muay Thai. His Muay Thai is phenomenal. His distance control, phenomenal as well. That's what I think is going to be the key against Zubaira Tukhugov. Now, Tukhugov is a great grappler, but he's also a very, very powerful striker. But the thing is, he only throws 1 or 2 shots at a time. If he gets you hurt, he will open up with more shots. But if he doesn't have you hurt, he will just look to, land 1 or 2 big power shots and then circle and move. Pop, pop, pop. Circle and move. Pop, 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 circle and move. One thing that I noticed was against Kevin Aguilar, the low kicks landed. And I know the fight was quick. It ended in the first round, but he did land low kicks, did Kevin Aguilar on Tukhugov. And if you're going to take low kicks from him, I think Hakeem's going to be able to keep it at distance and keep it at range. I think he's going to be able to land that chopping low kick and deaden the leg of Zubaira Tukhugov. I think Tukhugov is going to look to resort to his wrestling, but Min Hakeem Dawodu has very, very good takedown defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how that fight goes. All right, guys, let's get back to the prediction for Hakeem Dawodu and Zubaira Tukhugov. When you look at a guy like Mean Hakeem Dawodu, like I said, one of the main areas where Hakeem is going to have an advantage is his forward pressure, but it's also his volume and his ability to land multiple shots. So he does have good distance control and distance management. And Zubaira Tukhugov is good as well. Like, he can land good shots. He has a very, very solid right hand, good uppercuts from that right side. He'll go right hand and then rip the uppercut up the middle, good kicks, and just good power. He's very explosive, and if he lands on you, he can hurt you. But against a guy like Mean Hakeem Dawodu, who has such good distance control and can fight good in close and at range, he does get hit. So if Zubaira Tukhugov lands, he can hurt him. But if he tries to go for takedowns, I think he's got good enough takedown defense and good enough control from the single collar, the tie plum, and just the clinch and control up against the cage. If he gets Zubaira Tukhugov up against the fence, he's going to land vicious elbows. He's going to land knees. He's going to go elbows to knees to elbows to knees, and then land uppercuts. He's going to break off combinations with kicks. So if he goes 1-2, lead hook, right high kick, he'll push him into his left and go left high kick. He'll go 1-2-3, clinch, knee, push off to the left side, land the high kick on the break because you're directing them towards that power in the high kick. He'll frame off with that lead hand like he did against Yoshinori Horie. I think I can find the clip right here where he has him in the clinch, just elbows, knees, and just going constantly, just putting the pace and putting the pressure. Knee to the body, switches off the grip, pushes and frames off with that left hand, and then lands that left lead high kick as he pushes him towards that side and gets the finish. I think the volume of Mean Hakeem Dawodu is going to be the difference. I think the combination striking and the distance control is what's going to be the key, and it's going to lead to Mean Hakeem Dawodu getting the victory. I'm going to say he gets the win via a unanimous decision. So my pick is Mean Hakeem Dawodu to defeat Zubaira Tukhugov via unanimous decision and improve to 12-1-1. All right, up next in the women's bantamweight division is a fight between top 15 ranked contenders. Number 7 ranked Ketlen Vieira, who holds a record of 10 wins and 1 defeat, going up against the number 13 ranked Sijara Sarge Eubanks, who holds a record of 7 wins and 4 defeats. Now, I believe Sijara Eubanks is coming off a win recently in her last fight. If I can pull it up, let's see, Sijara Eubanks. Might have been her. I just want to see when her last fight was. So she beat Julia Avila via decision on September 12th. So yeah, she's coming right back in. Less than almost 2 weeks to the day. Actually, 2 weeks to the day she's back in after she won her last fight. Before that, she beat Sarah Moras via decision. And the real key in this fight for me is, Sijara Eubanks is good on the feet and on the ground. But when you look at it and really break it down, Sijara Eubanks is good on the, controlling positions on the ground. And when you go up against a girl like Ketlen Vieira, who's so good in the clinch with hip tosses and controlling on the ground and using the opponent's momentum and strength against them to throw them and reverse positions and get control on the top and land ground and pound, she's very good at, the grappling aspect and the wrestling aspect of MMA. Yes, she did lose to Irene Aldana, got caught with a beautiful left hook and dropped and finished, but she's so good at catching kicks and sweeping out the back leg, pulling the opponent off the fence and hooking the leg and taking them down. When they throw a knee, when the opponent throws a knee, she'll catch it and drive forward and take them down. She'll get them in a body lock and outside trip. She'll catch a knee and underhook and throw you on the ground. She's always going to look to get you to drive you into the cage, look to use your momentum against you and use your forward pressure against you and take them down. Now, are her takedowns effortless? Not all of them, but she likes to get you up against the fence. Like I said, she'll drag that lead left leg out with the hook around with the right leg, drag you down and pull you down, get on top position in half guard, and then move to the mount. She'll go, let's see, against Kat Zingano, She went outside trip as Zangano threw the knee with the other leg. She caught the leg and then stepped forward and outside tripped, kind of like what Rose Namajunas did to secure the win against Joanna Jędrzejczyk in their second fight for the title, where she moved forward, stepped around with that lead leg to control the legs and push the opponent down and get the takedown. It's called a leg hook, like you're hooking around the legs. So you push forward, use that lead leg, go around the legs, extend forward and take the opponent down. I think that's going to be the key against Sijara Eubanks. I think Sijara Eubanks definitely has the strength advantage, and she might be able to overpower Ketlen Vieira in a lot of positions on the feet and a lot of positions on the ground. But I do believe that the overall judo and wrestling game of Ketlen Vieira is going to tire out Sijara Eubanks and is going to lead to her getting the unanimous decision. So I'm going to go with Ketlen Vieira to defeat Sijara Eubanks via a unanimous decision. Like I said, Sijara Eubanks, even though her record isn't the greatest, she is a good fighter, and she's coming off, I believe I said it was 3 wins back-to-back. So she can get the job done. She's got a lot of power. She's got good striking on the feet, and she's powerful and strong on the ground. So if she gets Ketlen Vieira down and is able to hold position and control position, she can get the win. But I don't see that happening. I think Ketlen Vieira's takedown technique and her overall ability to reverse position and control the opponent in positions that they don't see coming is what's going to be the difference. All right, up next in the flyweight division, we have the number 7 ranked Kai Don't Blink Kara France, who holds a record of 21 wins, 8 losses, and 1 no contest, going up against the number 10 ranked Brandon Raw Dog Royval. Royval's coming off a big win over Tim Elliott in his UFC debut via a second-round arm triangle choke, and that's really the key. Really the key for what am I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. The key for Brandon Raw Dog Royval, and before we get into it, this is such a phenomenal fight. Anytime you see Kara France fight, it's going to be a dog fight. It's going to be a war. This guy always comes to fight and never backs down. I love watching Kara France. His movement, his head movement, his ability to control range, his combination striking, his 1-1-2, his double jab right hand is probably one of the best double jab right hands you're ever going to see in the sport of mixed martial arts. And his ability to just constantly move, fake and feint, hook, uppercut, right hand, left hook, 1-1-2, 1-1-2, 3, uppercut, hook, 1-1-2. I mean, it's just constant combination striking. Good calf kicks, like I said, that's a staple for anybody in city kickboxing. And it's no mistake, and it's no different when it comes to Don't Blink, Kara France. When you look at a guy like Royval, he's good on the feet. He has decent striking, good movement. He's very kind of awkward on the feet, but it's mainly because he's looking to get you on the ground and get into his world-class jiu-jitsu and grappling. On the ground, it's a big, big advantage for Raw Dog Royval. If Brandon Royval gets Kara France to the ground, he can easily lock up a submission. One of the main things that Kara France has trouble with are guys who land heavy combination striking like Brandon Moreno. Moreno just kept moving forward, kept throwing combinations, pop, 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 end with a kick, pop, 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 end with a kick, pop, 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 end with a kick. And eventually the damage just got to him. He lost the fight, but he did good in the first round. He was landing the 1-1-2. He likes to jab. He likes to jab, pull the guard down, like pull down your guard with the lead hand, swipe through, and then come around with the right hand. So pop, 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 pull right hand, pop, 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 pull left hook, right hand, left hook to the body. He's got phenomenal striking, and he's so clean and so technical in his approach. If he keeps it on the feet, I think he pieces up Brandon Raw Dog Royval. But if he gets himself out of position, I think Royval can get a takedown. I think Royval can reverse positions and lead into submission attempts. If Brandon Raw Dog Royval finds the ability to lock up a submission, it's going to be trouble for Kara France. And he won't just go for one attempt. He'll go like he did against Tim Elliott. He'll have the Kimura grip. He'll go to pull out the Kimura, but then he'll step around. He'll step around the head. I think that's what he did. Yeah. He'll step around the head with the opposite leg and then roll or spin his way into an armbar. So he'll go for the Kimura grip, then he'll step back around the opposite direction and go for the armbar on the far side arm. So when they have the arm locked, the arm that you're controlling for the Kimura, you grab the opposite arm and you step around the head and go to the opposite side and lock up an armbar. And then if the opponent tries to get out of the armbar, he'll go to triangle. He's very good at transitioning from submission to submission to submission, and good at scrambling on the ground, and doesn't really give up a lot of positions. Even against Tim Elliott, he was constantly getting taken down, but he never settled for a position. He would always try to move his hips into Tim Elliott, circle away, shrimp his hips out and get back up to his feet, roll into a position where he could try to take the back, roll into a position where he could end up on top, reverse position. And eventually he tired out Tim Elliott, because Elliott went for takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown, tired him out, and eventually locked up the arm triangle choke and got the submission. So Raw Dog Royval's grappling and jiu-jitsu is no joke. And if he locks up a submission on Kai Kara-France, he can get the job done without question. However, I do think Kai Kara-France, his striking is too crisp and too clean. His fakes and feints are going to make it harder for Brandon Royval to see the shots coming. And I think Kai Kara-France's takedown defense is good enough to stop the takedowns of Royval. Now, if I was Brandon Royval, I would go for one takedown attempt, then switch it, like go for a single, then go to a double, then go to a single, then try to revert, then try to escape the takedown and move towards the back. Like use the single leg to get the hook with the arm around the back, circle away, and get the takedown. That's what I would do. But I think Kai Kara-France is too crisp, too clean, has too much power and too much speed on the feet, and I think he defeats Brandon Raw Dog Royval via a unanimous decision. So I'm going to go with Kai Kara-France to get the win over Brandon Royval via unanimous decision. All right, now we move to the co-main event of the evening for the light heavyweight championship, the vacant light heavyweight championship between the number 1 ranked Dominick, the Devastator Reyes, coming off a controversial loss to the GOAT, or the proclaimed GOAT, John Bones Jones, in his title fight at UFC 247, and he's going up against the number 3 ranked Jan Blachowicz, Polish Power, who holds a record of 26 wins and 8 defeats. I think I've heard a lot of people talking about this fight, and the one thing I hear is everybody's praising Dominick Reyes. Everybody's saying Dominick Reyes is the best. He's the uncrowned champ. He beat John Jones. He this, he that. Nobody's talking about Jan Blachowicz or Jan Blachowicz. Maybe he'll have to Blachowicz to win this fight. I don't know. I just think that's kind of funny, but it's Jan Blachowicz. And the thing is, nobody's given this guy the credit that he deserves. He knocked out Corey Anderson with a vicious right hand, dropped him and finished him. He knocked out a former middleweight champion in Luke Rockhold. Now, I know Rockhold is coming off losses, and he hasn't been himself. I think his last victory was against David Branch, and then he lost to Yoel Romero, lost to Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight. So, he's not been the best. He hasn't been the best in his career right now, and it's not good. He is coming back, apparently, and I think he's coming back to 185. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if Rockhold should come back with all the KOs he suffered recently, to Bisping, to Yoel Romero, to Jan Blachowicz or Blachowicz. I don't know. But, you can't discredit Jan Blachowicz. The guy's dangerous. He's got vicious power in his right hand. He's got good combinations, the right hook, right uppercut when they come in range, good high kicks from the southpaw and orthodox stance, a really powerful high kick from the left side and a powerful high kick from the right side. He primarily fights out of an orthodox stance, which is left foot in front, right foot in back, power in the right hand, but he will switch stance as he circles sometimes and go southpaw to land the left kick to the body and the left low kick. He will switch stance. But I think in this fight, he's going to primarily be fighting out of an orthodox stance against a southpaw in Dominick Reyes. Dominick Reyes doesn't switch his stance. He primarily stays a southpaw, vicious power in the left hand, good movement. I think the movement of Dominick Reyes is going to be the biggest factor in this fight against Jan Blachowicz. The movement, the angles, the lateral movement, the in and out, the combinations where he likes to track the opponent and he'll direct them into punches as they circle. And he's very good at countering the opponent's right hand with a drop step left hook, straight left. So against Weidman, he did it too. He's in the southpaw stance. The opponent throws the right hand. He'll take a little slight step off to his right, and not a big step. It just looks like he took a small step off, but it makes the right hand go right past him, and then he'll counter with that drop back left hand. So as you come forward and try to pressure him, he'll drop back. He'll step off to his right side, drop back and land that left straight down the middle. And then that's what he did to knock out Chris Weidman. And then he obviously went to ground and pound where Weidman had his feet on the hips. Dominick Reyes moved off towards his right side, had the left hand, I believe, underneath the heel of Chris Weidman, passed the leg, or I think he had it on the right hand. Yeah, he had it on the right hand. The right hand was on the heel, controlling the foot. He passed that leg over, pushed it off the hip, and passed it to his left side to get off to the side and land a hammer fist. So he knows positions, and he knows how to get past your defense to land his offense. And he's so good at slipping his shots up against the cage and rolling and cutting angles and moving laterally. And that's going to be the biggest key against Jan Blachowicz. Let's look at the stats, because the stats are pretty close to each other. Height, there's a 2-inch height advantage for Dominick Reyes, 6'4" to 6'2". 1-inch reach advantage for Jan Blachowicz, but I think Dominick Reyes uses his reach and his range a little bit better than does Jan Blachowicz. When it comes to wins by knockout, 58% of the wins come by KO for Dominick Reyes, 27% of the wins by knockout for Jan Blachowicz. 17% of the wins by submission for Dominick Reyes and 35% for Jan Blachowicz. Decisions, 25% for Dominick Reyes and 38% for Jan Blachowicz. When it comes to average fight time, Reyes is more of a finisher. He has an average fight time of 9 minutes and 7 seconds, and Jan Blachowicz has an average fight time of 12 minutes and 1 second. Well, knockdown averages, it's not that important. Per 15-minute fight, Dominick Reyes lands 0.94 knockdowns. So basically, he knocks his opponent down once in every 15-minute fight, at least one knockdown per fight. And Jan Blachowicz has a 0.45. So it's like every 2 fights, he lands a knockdown pretty much. When you look at the significant strikes, landed per minute is where Reyes has a decent advantage. Dominick Reyes lands 4.88 significant strikes per minute, and Jan Blachowicz lands 3.45. So it's almost a 2-strike advantage per minute for Dominick Reyes. He's the more active guy. The striking percentages, however, are pretty close. 49% accuracy for his significant strikes for Dominick Reyes, and 48% striking accuracy for Jan Blachowicz. Strikes absorbed per minute, it's pretty close. Reyes takes about 3 strikes a minute, and Jan Blachowicz takes 2.77 significant strikes per minute. In the defense, Dominick Reyes actually has worse defense than does Jan Blachowicz, which is pretty interesting because I don't think Dominick Reyes seems to get hit too much in his fights. So this was kind of interesting to me. 48% of strikes defended for Dominick Reyes to 54% for Jan Blachowicz. When you look at the grappling, this is where Jan Blachowicz has a big advantage, but it's not going to be easy for Jan to take down a guy like Dominick Reyes. Takedown averages per 15-minute fight, 0.24 for Dominick Reyes. He never looks for the takedown, rarely at all. And Jan gets at least 1 takedown per 15-minute fight with a 1.16 takedown average. Takedown accuracy, 16% for Dominick Reyes, but again, he doesn't really look for takedowns. He uses that position to break off and land strikes or getting close to land damaging shots to his opponent. And 52% takedown accuracy for Jan Blachowicz. So he is definitely the better grappler and the more decorated grappler and wrestler all the way around. When it comes to takedown defense, 82% of takedowns defended for Dominick Reyes to only 65% for Jan Blachowicz. So it is, an interesting dynamic. Really, when it comes down to the fight, here's what I think. When you look at the grappling for Reyes versus Blachowicz, I don't really see either guy going to shoot takedowns. And even if they do, okay, if somebody's going to shoot a takedown, it's going to be Blachowicz because he has resorted to his grappling in his previous fights. He is primarily a grappler by nature, but his fights in the UFC have ended lately via his striking. Corey Anderson threw a right low kick and Blachowicz just countered it with a straight right down the middle, dropped him and knocked him out. And then against Rockhold, they were in a over-under clinch and Blachowicz limp armed his way out of the clinch, pulled it out and threw a right hook. I believe it was was it a right hook or a left hook? I think it was a left hook. He pulled his arm out and Rockhold moved right into it. Boom. He used the whip of dragging his arm out to throw that hook, dropped him, and then he landed 2 ground and pound shots for the finish. So I think when it comes to grappling, I don't see anybody shooting traditional takedowns. I think it's going to be a lot of pushing the opponent up against the fence, or trying to, in Jan Blachowicz' case, and trying to get the over-under clinch, the over-under positions, and try to work with the underhooks and the overhooks, and pushing him up against the fence, landing knees, and looking for takedowns. Here's the problem. I don't see Blachowicz being good enough to take down a guy like Dominick Reyes. Did he get taken down by John Jones? Yes, he did towards the end of the fight. But even when he got taken down, he never settled for a position. We talked about this earlier with another fight with Brad Quake Riddell versus Alex da Silva Coelho. That Brad Riddell, even if he gets taken down, he never settles for position, and he always tries to get back up to his feet. Against Jones, Dominick Reyes got taken down, but immediately would get back up to a base, push his way up, and get up to his feet and use the cage to get back up. If Dominick Reyes is taken down in the center of the cage, then maybe Blachowicz will have a better option of using ground and pound and trying to set up submissions. He does have more submissions to his credit than does a guy like Dominick Reyes. However, I think the fight stays on the feet. And one fight that I look to in terms of how I see this fight going is Thiago Santos versus Jan Blachowicz, where Thiago Santos timed Blachowicz moving in on a straight line. He was moving in straight with uppercuts and hooks and crosses and trying to land a combination. Santos stepped back into southpaw, boom, landed that left hook and dropped him. Now, who has one of the best step back, drop back, left hands in the game? It's Dominick Reyes. You saw it against Ovince St. Preux. Even though it wasn't a drop back straight left, he circled underneath the power shot of Ovince St. Preux. And then as he rolled underneath, he cut that angle and boom, landed that straight left to the side. It was literally on the side of Ovince St. Preux. So he rolled underneath, got off to the side on the angle, and landed that straight left right on the chin. And against Chris Weidman, he threw that straight right hand. Dominick Reyes stepped off to his left, dropped back, and landed the straight left hand, dropped him, and then obviously landed the ground and pound like we talked about earlier. When it comes to the kicking game, I think they both have great kicks. Each guy has good kicks. I think Dominick Reyes sets his kicks up a little bit better, but I do think that there's no way you could tell me that Jan Blachowicz you can't tell me that Jan Blachowicz is a pushover in this fight. I know a lot of people are thinking that he's going to get ran through. Dominick Reyes is going to destroy him. There's no chance that Blachowicz wins this fight. He's got a shot. And, Dominick Reyes is clean with his striking, and he is good at landing combinations and tracking the opponent. He's good with that drop back left uppercut that he did against Jones, where he'll slip off to his left and uppercut. He'll slip off, pull in, he pulled Jones in and landed the left uppercut. And I think that could work well because of how much of a forward pressure fighter Jan Blachowicz is. If Blachowicz plays it too safe and too patient, I think that Dominick Reyes is just going to pick him apart with his movement, his angles. Dominick Reyes is going to look to land that check right hook to get the outside foot on Jan Blachowicz, and then land that left kick to the body and the left kick to the head. And that's going to be really one of the best keys for him. When it comes to Blachowicz is probably going to look to land that right inside low kick to the lead leg of Dominick Reyes, kind of deaden the leg of Dominick Reyes. If you can slow him down with low kicks, then his movement is going to be compromised, and it's going to work better for Blachowicz, since Blachowicz is more of a forward pressure fighter. Now, when I say this, he does move laterally and he can cut angles, but it's not to the level of a Dominick Reyes. Reyes is always moving laterally. When you get him up against the fence, he's always looking to roll and pivot and get off the cage. He's never going to stay stationary in one position. When you go to get takedowns, he'll land elbows and break off the clinch with combinations and striking and move. The problem with this fight, and the key for me, is I see it playing out similarly to the Thiago Santos-Jan Blachowicz fight. I think Blachowicz gets too confident, pushes forward with long combinations. Dominick Reyes drops back, lands that straight left hand, drops Blachowicz, and finishes him. I think it ends via a third-round TKO for Dominick the Devastator Reyes. Now, like I said, you cannot discredit Blachowicz. Don't think that I'm picking against him because I think he has no shot. Blachowicz has a shot. He's dangerous. He's dangerous everywhere. But I do think Dominick Reyes gets it done. I think Dominick Reyes becomes your new light heavyweight champion and improves to 13-1. by knocking out Jan Blachowicz in the third round. So my pick is Dominick the Devastator Reyes to defeat Jan Blachowicz via a third round knockout. All right. Now we move to the main event of the evening, the fight that everybody is looking forward to, the best fight on the card. A combined record of 32 wins and 0 defeats. It's undefeated champion versus undefeated challenger. It's the last Stylebender, Israel Adesanya, holding a record of 19 wins and no defeats, going up against the number 2 ranked Paulo the Eraser Costa, Blachowicz, who holds a record of 13 wins and no defeats. This is the best fight that you could make in the middleweight division, and nobody's going to dispute that. This is the fight that everybody's been looking forward to for the last year. This is the fight that has bad blood behind it. This is a fight where both guys have called each other out. After Adesanya beat Yoel Romero, I believe that's when him and Paulo Costa had the interactions where Paulo Costa was in the crowd and was like hyping it up. Or no, that was after I think that was after Adesanya beat Whitaker. Paulo Costa was in the crowd, and Israel Adesanya was like, let's go look at this Baphomus Ignoramus and stuff like that. And they're ready to fight. Like they have hyped this up. And a lot of people are saying Paulo Costa is going to get ran through. I don't see that. I do think that, obviously, well, you'll see when I break down my prediction how I think the fight's going to go. But I do see areas where Paulo Costa has a very big advantage, and I do see areas where Adesanya has a very big advantage. Let's break down the stats, first of all. Okay, when it comes to the height, Adesanya is 3 inches taller. It's 6'4" for Israel Adesanya, the champion, and 6'1" for the challenger. With reach, it's a big advantage for Israel Adesanya, and he needs to use this reach to the best of his ability against Paulo Costa. An 80-inch reach for Israel Adesanya to a 72-inch reach for the racer, Paulo Costa. When it comes to leg reach, usually I don't break that down, but I think it's important in a fight like this. 44.5 inches for Israel Adesanya to 39.5 inches for Paulo Costa. That's a 5-inch leg reach advantage, and Israel's going to be looking to use all of that in the entire fight. Wins by knockout, they're pretty close. 78% of wins coming by way of knockout for the champion, Israel Adesanya, and 92% fin knockout rate for Paulo Costa. He's 13-1. 92% of his wins come by way of knockout. He's going to look to finish you, and it's going to be no different against Adesanya. He's going to look to push forward. He's going to look to put the pressure on, and he's going to look to knock him out. And there's a few areas that I think he can do that. Wins by submission, 8% of the wins by submission for Paulo Costa, no submissions for Adesanya. So Paulo Costa wait a minute. These stats are not right because it says the submission. Let me check on UFC.com really quick, because this says that he has no wins by decision, but Paulo Costa beat Yoel Romero via decision. So hold on a second. Let me go to the UFC homepage, and I'll look at the event page so we can get the correct stats. Let's go events. Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero here. Or Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya. Give me the full card, please. Here we go. Okay. Drunk as fuck. Wait. Just move on. Here. Okay, so yeah, okay. Well, the stats are wrong then, because it says that Paulo Costa has no wins by decision, but he beat Yoel Romero at UFC 241 via decision. So that's wrong. So forget about the stats, I guess. I guess UFC didn't update the stats correctly, but we'll go to the other stats in the fight besides that. So when it comes to average fight time, Adesanya has a much, much longer fight time. With 15 minutes and 53 seconds, and Paulo Costa is 5 minutes and 21 seconds. So Adesanya has more time in the octagon. He has longer fights. He's gone 5 rounds before. It's not a hard thing to do for Adesanya. He can go 5 rounds. Costa tries to get in your face, rough you up, and knock you out immediately. When it comes to knockdown averages, it's 1.18 for Israel Adesanya to 2.1 knockdowns for Paulo Costa. So Costa's a finisher. Paulo Costa is going to look to get in the face of Adesanya, pressure him, move him towards the fence, and try to knock him out. When it comes to the striking, strikes landed per minute in a 15-minute fight for Israel Adesanya are 3.96, and strikes landed for Israel Adesanya are 8.83. Significant strikes percentages. Well, let's just talk about strikes landed per minute. This just shows you, a lot of people say Paulo Costa has knockout power, and he does have power. He's a big dude. He's got a lot of power, but he doesn't knock people out on one-punch knockouts. He knocks people out on volume striking mixed with his power. He'll land 4, 5, 6 power shots and knock you out. He's not going to land one hit and knock you out. It's not going to happen. He doesn't do that. He'll land 4, 5, 6 punches up to your head, rip to your body, and knock you out. But he's not going to land one shot and KO you that way. Israel Adesanya is more of a one-punch knockout striker than Paulo Costa, but a lot of people aren't ready for that conversation, I don't think. Significant strikes percentages landed per minute, 48% significant strikes accuracy for Israel Adesanya to a 59% accuracy rate for Paulo Costa. So he is very accurate. It's not just all power. He's very, very accurate in his strikes. I would say that based on the fights I've seen, I think Israel is definitely the sharper, more cleaner striker. But based on stats, Paulo Costa is more effective with his significant strikes. Strikes absorbed per minute, and this is where the big difference comes into play. 2.4 strikes absorbed per minute in a 15-minute fight for the last Stylebender Israel Adesanya to a 5.79 strikes absorbed per minute. So Costa takes almost 4 extra strikes per minute than does Adesanya. So he gets hit more. And you could see that just in the way that they fight. He's good defensively, but Adesanya is better defensively and quicker and slicker on the feet. When it comes to takedown defense, it's pretty close. 86% of takedowns defended for Israel Adesanya to 81% of takedowns defended for Paulo Costa. And then what else? I think that's it. Okay, so that's it for the stats. So now let's break down how I think the fight's going to go. So here's the keys for Israel Adesanya. Number 1, you have to stay at kicking range against Paulo Costa. You do not want to get in boxing range. You do not want to get in clinch range with a guy like Paulo Costa. Now, is that going to be an easy thing to do? No, not at all. That's never going to be easy to stop a guy who fights and makes his living in fighting, and his success is based off of forward pressure, pushing you up against the fence, and ripping you to shreds. That's what Paulo Costa likes to do. And even though it sounds like I'm explaining him as a brawler, he's a technical brawler. He is a technical powerhouse. Everything that he throws, yes, there's power behind it, but he mixes it up and he has good technique. He's not just like a Robbie Lawler. He's not just like a Anthony Rumble Johnson. He's got a lot of technique in his power. He's technical. Is he on the level of Adesanya in terms of being as technical? No, not at all. Now, for Adesanya, like I said, he has to keep Paulo Costa at kicking range, and he has to work counters as Paulo Costa moves into range. And that's going to be the key. I would say when Paulo Costa tries to close the range, and you have to stay off the fence. He has to stay off the fence. There's no way that if he gets pushed up against the fence and pressured, he might be able to survive it for a little bit in the fight and be able to slip and move and defend. But the longer the fight goes, if he keeps getting pushed back to the fence by Paulo Costa, he's going to get finished. And the key for Paulo Costa is this. Paulo Costa needs to slip and rip, and he needs to push Adesanya forward, and he needs to get him to the fence and work the body. The biggest opportunity for Paulo Costa to win this fight is to work the body and then work up top. Do not invest in the head. Mix up your levels with the striking. Go head, body, body, head, body, body, head, head, body, head, body, head, body, body, head. Mix it up. And he does it very well. He does it probably better than almost anybody in the sport. With he'll go 1, 2, hook, uppercut to the body. 1, 2, he'll go hook, uppercut to the body, hook on the same side, straight left. He'll go 1, 1, he'll go 1, 2, 3, hook to the body, hook to the head. Bop, 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 up top, rip to the body. Bop, 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 body, head, head. So he'll go hook body, hook head. He'll go hook to the hook up top, hook to the body. He loves to rip to the body. He does throw jabs, but not too much. He went jab for jab with Uriah Hall, and you could see that Uriah Hall was piecing him up with the jab at first. But Costa was able to push forward, move through it, take the damage, and eventually just out pressure and make Uriah Hall wilt under the pressure. Against Adesanya, I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to do at all. Adesanya is going to be using fakes and feints. One thing that Paulo Costa isn't used to are fakes and feints. And even against Uriah Hall, it was working. He would fake, Paulo Costa would kind of flinch, and then he'd jab. He'd fake, he'd flinch, and he'd jab. Fake, flinch, and he'd jab. And eventually, Paulo Costa just got used to it and started slipping and moving, and it did work to his benefit because he was able to slip and rip to the body. And his body kicks are phenomenal. When he's in an orthodox stance and the opponent is in the same stance as him, he will throw a rear round kick to the body. When the opponent, so when they're both in the same stance, he will throw a switch kick to the body, I believe, when they're both in orthodox. So he'll step forward with the back foot, replace the lead foot with the back foot, swing into it and land that lead switch kick to the body. When the opponent is in a southpaw stance and he is in orthodox, he will throw that back power kick to the liver. Because when your opponent is in an opposite stance, if you're orthodox and the opponent southpaw or vice versa, the back power kick to the body is always open. When you're the same stance, the power kick to the body is open, but it's not as easy as of a path to get to. So when you're in opposite stances, like I said, the body kicks open from the back power leg, and he'll whip that kick in. He has a phenomenal kicking game. Israel is probably more technical and switches up the variety in his kicks, but Paulo Costa has more power in his kicking game. When it comes to the opponents in the same stance, like I said, he will switch kick to the body. He did it against Uriah Hall. The lead left switch kick to the body was landed on the right side of the body of Uriah Hall. And then when they were in opposite stances, he would land again with the body kick to the right side of Uriah Hall. So he's always trying to attack the right side and attack the liver. The more times you go to the body on these guys like Uriah Hall, it wilts them and it tires them out. Against Adesanya, not a lot of people try to go to his body because they don't know if knees up the middle are coming. They don't know if a high kick is coming. They don't know if a switch knee is coming. But I think Paulo Costa knows he has to invest in the body and he has to get Stylebender pushed up against the fence. A lot of people are saying, well, Stylebender doesn't get pushed up against the fence. Adesanya doesn't get pushed to the fence. Yes, he does. He got pushed up against the fence against Gastelum. He got pushed up against the fence against Derek Brunson. He got pushed up against the fence against Yoel Romero, but he finds a way to move laterally and use that lead hand to frame off, whether it's in southpaw or orthodox, because he will throw a kick from orthodox and then step down into southpaw and then move laterally and then go back to orthodox. When he throws his kicks, he primarily uses that kick to switch his stance from either orthodox to southpaw or southpaw to orthodox. When the opponent is throwing heavy punches and he's trying to slip out of the way, he will tend to slip inside, slip outside, and roll. And as he rolls, he'll switch stances. Adesanya loves using that lead arm, stiff arm, the frame, to push off the shoulder of the opponent. So when they throw their power shot, it glazes off the shoulder and it protects his head. So there's different areas where Adesanya has the defense to avoid Paulo Costa, but he needs to avoid the body shots. And one thing I saw Paulo Costa working on is same side combinations, and he doesn't normally do that. And I think against Adesanya, it could work because against Gastelum threw a 1-2 and then threw a right high kick behind that right hand. So he went 1-2 and then the right high kick behind the right hand. He hid the high kick. And then when he lunged forward against Adesanya and dropped him in the first round, he landed I believe it was a right hook, but he leaped in and landed that right. He leapt in and landed that punch. He just, boom, darted in, and it caught Adesanya off guard. He moved right into the punch and got hit. Sometimes if you can track the defensive head movement and movement of Adesanya, you can catch him as he moves in his defense with high kicks, with counter hooks. Hooks are probably the best weapons to catch Adesanya slipping in his defensive irresponsibility. But you can't say he's defensively irresponsible because he's one of the best defensive fighters in all of mixed martial arts. He can literally get a millimeter away from your shot and just move. He sees everything coming. For Paulo Costa, he has to resort to the body work. Get Adesanya to move up against the fence. And when you get him up against the fence, rip to the body and rip up top. Land kicks to the body from kicking range so that you can, one, stop the kicking game and stifle the kicking game of Adesanya, but you can also take the wind out of his sails by landing more shots to the body. Try to go for low kicks, but be careful because when Whitaker tried to use that front leg knee stomp, Adesanya pulled that lead leg back and immediately followed through a lead roundhouse kick. So here's what I think is going to happen. Paulo Costa's got a shot, definitely. But I think the forward pressure of Paulo Costa is going to cause him to get himself knocked out. If you look at the fight against Uriah Hall, there was a point where he ripped to the body, pop, ripped up top with hooks. But as he went to the body and went to go up top, Uriah Hall countered him with a right hand as he stepped in, and it hit him on the ear, and it dropped him and stumbled him. Like he got rocked. He fell, and he got back up, and then he was backing up. I think that's what's going to be the key for Adesanya. I think as Paulo Costa steps in, tries to close the range, he's going to look to land knees to the body and take the wind out of him. And I think that Paulo Costa is going to have to win this fight in the first 2 to 2.5 rounds. If it goes past the third, Adesanya pieces him up. I don't expect it to go to decision. I don't expect it to go past the third round. And if it does, Adesanya pieces him up. He's just too crisp, too clean, and too technical. I could see Paulo Costa catching him early, but I think that the pace and pressure of Paulo Costa is going to be to his detriment. You're going to run into a sniper, and you're going to get countered and caught. Adesanya is the best when somebody is coming at him trying to take his head off. Look at Whitaker. Look at Derek Brunson. When somebody's constantly moving forward trying to take his head off, he is at his best. Even though the Gastelum fight was a hard fight for him, and he had trouble with Gastelum, and Gastelum trains with Paulo Costa under Eric Albarracin. So I'm sure Gastelum is giving him tips and pointers on how to handle the style of Adesanya. So it's going to be an interesting fight, and it is dangerous. Both of these guys aren't undefeated for no reason. So I'm excited to see it. But I do expect Israel Adesanya to counter Paulo Costa coming in with a shot, drop him, and TKO him. I'm going with Israel, the last Stylebender, Adesanya, to defeat Paulo Costa via a second round TKO and retain his middleweight championship and move to 20 wins and no losses and remain the undefeated middleweight champion. If he does that, I immediately expect him to call out John Jones after the fight. So yeah, guys, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, it was going to be a long one. We had a lot of fights to break down and a lot of stuff to go over. I hope you guys enjoyed. Get this podcast out to anybody you know who's excited about Adesanya versus Costa, who's excited about Dominick Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz, who's excited about the City Kickboxing Rise with Kai Kara France, Shane Young, and Brad Quake Riddell, Israel Adesanya. Anybody who's excited about MMA, anybody who's a big fan of mixed martial arts and a fan of the technical side of mixed martial arts, make sure to get this podcast out to anybody you can and anybody you wish. You can leave a review for my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. It's available on all audio podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Overcast. Anywhere you can get your audio podcast, you can get the Touch 'Em Up podcast. Thank you to all my friends. Anybody who supports me, thank you. It means the world to me. Everybody who tunes into the podcast, and for all of you guys who are just tuning in for the first time, make sure to keep tuning in because we're not slowing down anytime soon. You can donate to the podcast, but I'm not expecting you to. If you'd like to become a monthly Patreon and subscribe to the podcast or donate, it would be greatly appreciated. But again, you listening and you getting it out to more people and helping me grow my audience is all I can ask for. This has been Double M from the Touch 'Em Up podcast, and with my predictions for UFC 253, Adesanya versus Costa, I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out. Have a good night, everybody. All right?